Globalization, the world becoming progressively interconnected and integrated as a result of increasing trade and cultural exchange. The biggest companies are no longer national firms, but multinational enterprises creating value by leveraging their resources and capabilities across borders.
We're here today on our way to eBay, a tech company that has capitalized on globalization and taken their marketplace worldwide. eBay was founded in San Jose, California in 1995 as AuctionWeb, an e-commerce platform dedicated to bringing buyers and sellers together in an honest and open marketplace. Today, eBay is available in 180 countries.
What drove eBay to become the global giant it is today?
eBay's main goal was to build an inclusive marketplace for global trade. However, to determine if this was viable, they had to analyse the industry globalisation drivers. When we look at Yip's globalisation drivers framework, we can see that a market driver for eBay was homogeneous customer needs. They had a platform which could be standardised with minimal adaptation across countries to suit and satisfy similar consumer demands. Also, they were driven by cost benefits. The initial markets of the US and Canada weren't large enough to achieve their full economies of scale, so by expanding globally, they could leverage their pool of consumers, which are the buyers and the sellers, and create a network scale economy, where the marginal cost of adding an additional user was close to zero. Next, we move on to the government drivers of compatible technological standards. Since the development of the World Wide Web in 1990, eBay had the digital infrastructure required to easily access the global marketplace. And lastly, we have the driver of globalized competitors. eBay was considered an innovative business model at the time with limited competition, so they had great potential to ascertain a large market share. We've identified eBay as a global company, but can we classify it as a multinational enterprise?
The answer is yes. Now let's take a look why.
We can define a multinational enterprise as a firm that engages in foreign direct investment by directly controlling and managing value-adding activities in other countries.
Additionally, by looking at the integration responsiveness framework, a multinational enterprise engages in a transnational strategy where firms combine benefits of global scale efficiencies with benefits of local responsiveness.
As we've seen through eBay's structure and their global operations, they do fulfill the criteria of a multinational enterprise. So now let's dive into their competitive advantages.
Analyzing eBay's competitive advantages, we can use Michael Porter's 5 Forces framework, which includes rivalry among firms, threats of new entry, bargaining power of buyers, bargaining power of suppliers, and substitute products or services. We can also use the VRIO framework, which includes considerations on firm-specific assets: value, rarity, imitability, and organization. One of the greatest advantages for eBay is the fact that it was founded in 1995, when the internet was becoming popular amongst mainstream consumers. eBay was the first digital platform of its kind, and as a result, it was able to capitalize on the gap in the market and achieve a strong industry position. This is an example of rarity in the VRIO framework, which also gave eBay a first-mover advantage. The site design is an advantage in and of itself, as the simple user interface allows users to easily navigate the site. eBay's website design is more attractive to users compared to other similar platforms that have more complex listing processes. As a result, this creates value through satisfying customer demand. Furthermore, this specific platform is very difficult to duplicate, both through direct duplication and substitution. During their initial expansion, the volume of transactions that was conducted on the site discouraged other companies from entering the market to directly compete with eBay. This means there are not many threats of new entry, and which creates low rivalry between firms from the external perspective. The combination of valuable, rare, hard to imitate resources and capabilities gives eBay a sustained competitive advantage.
So let's go talk to Rana, International Operations Specialist at eBay, and find out what challenges the company faced during its global expansion.
I was researching your company a bit, and I came across a study about the failure to enter the Chinese market. Would you be able to clarify why you chose the Chinese market, what happened during that opportunity, and why?
Well, the Chinese market was very attractive to us because it was a time where we were focusing on global expansion. It was a developing market that showed strong growth prospects as well as having a large consumer base. Therefore, it was a strategic opportunity for us to take. It would help us diversify our business as well as further expand into Asia. What happened was that in 2002, we decided to acquire the online trading company HNet in China, and we used that as our entry strategy to the market. However, due to a variety of reasons such as management plans, product adaptations, and lack of understanding of the environment, we failed. In other words, we did not effectively address the components of the cage distance frameworks, especially the administrative and cultural components.
Can you further explain what you mean by failure due to management plans?
What I mean is when we first entered the Chinese market, we assumed that because we were acquiring a dominant market player, we then need to create new strategies, and that neglected the cultural differences. What we did was that we sent expatriates from Taiwan, from Korea, from Germany, and from the US to manage the division. And even like the manager was German and the chief technology officer was American. And this created a major disadvantage due to the cultural distance and the unfamiliarity with the environment. To begin with, our service was mainly connecting consumers to second-hand goods sellers. And what we didn't understand is that in Chinese culture, second-hand goods may be seen as a sign of lack of wealth. And we didn't understand how the social norms may tamper with our sales. Also, our service was mainly focused on using auctions, and they were unfamiliar with this concept, but they were familiar with the idea of haggling, and we were late to notice that we could have used it instead. And also in early 2002, we had just acquired PayPal, therefore it was our main measure of receiving payments, where Alipay was predominantly used by all Chinese consumers, and therefore they were unfamiliar, and it was a less attractive service. Furthermore, we also experienced failure in our marketing strategies because we mainly focused on internet advertisements when the vast majority of the Chinese consumers preferred television ads. As a result, there was a considerable cultural distance as we did not have a robust understanding of the social norms and values. Yeah, there was an administrative distance that was caused by a firewall that was in place that blocked internet traffic that the Chinese government disapproved of. So basically, any listing that appeared to be vaguely suspicious would cause the foreign computer to be blocked from 24 hours up to several days. And this frustrated our users, and therefore it decreased our sales, and it caused them to look for alternatives. As you can see, we were facing a lot of difficult obstacles, and it was a time where the market was growing and there were highly advanced competitors like Taobao.
Now that we understand the issues eBay has experienced in entering the Chinese market, let's go to Scarlett, who will investigate the company's market entry strategies.
I'm here with Shabam, eBay's Global Market Entry Analyst, and Shabam's going to walk us through the different entry strategies that eBay engage in.
Yeah, so the most common entry strategies we engage in are acquisition and joint ventures. No single entry strategy is useful in all situations, so it's very important when entering a market that we consider what entry strategy we go for, because it could affect our future operations for the company.
So Shabam, can you explain the difference between those two strategies?
Okay, so an acquisition is a takeover, ownership and full management control by one company to another, while a joint venture is where two or more separate companies cooperate and to achieve the similar goal and objective. The company still operates as a separate business, but they combine the skills and specialities. In terms of marketing entry by acquisition, we did try to adopt this strategy when in China, but however, as my colleague Mia mentioned, we faced significant problems with developing our operations. Despite the acquisition being unsuccessful in China, it was pivotal for other expansion endeavors in other more developed countries. For example, we acquired Geosys, an online e-marketplace for shopping in Japan. By investing in that domestic firm, we were able to get a customer base for our target market. We were able to consolidate our presence in Japan. This strategy succeeded in Japan, whereas it didn't succeed in China, maybe because the Japanese consumers were already familiar with eBay's e-market and business model. Yeah, so a joint venture that was successful for us was our partnership with eCorp to enter Australian and New Zealand markets. We used the joint venture strategy over direct acquisition because we wanted to utilize eCorp's local knowledge to understand the customers. After working 3 years closely with them, we decided to acquire the rest of the business because we had developed a strong financial performance, leadership position, and growth trajectory. It was a very important strategy for us because it demonstrated that in high-risk acquisitions, using a two-stage entry strategy can reduce cost and uncertainty. However, our successes in joint ventures have also been matched with some failures, but it has provided us with steep learning curves. We learned that it's crucial for both companies and firms to share organizational values and collective goals to establish an effective working relationship.
I'm now going to go speak to Maya, another one of eBay's global market entry strategists.
Hi Maya. Hello.
You and your team are responsible for researching market entry strategies and giving recommendations on how eBay can utilise these strategies to firmly establish themselves in overseas markets.
Yeah, that's right.
So, what other strategies can eBay use other than joint venture and acquisition?
Well, basically we had a few other options available to us when we entered the market. For example, contractual agreements such as turnkey and co-marketing. In terms of turnkey, we could actually contract an organization to take full and entire responsibility of our process and our platform in the international market. But this would limit our involvement and control over the process, which was basically a key to eBay's success. And additionally, this would actually threaten our competitive advantage, because obviously as using a contractor, we're exposing all of our technology and information, which can actually impact the long-term presence and create inefficient competitors.
Okay, that's great. Can you please explain the co-marketing strategy?
Yeah, sure. Well, co-marketing is all about collaboration between two firms in order to promote a shared product. It would give us a benefit such as reaching customers by partnering with another business that is already established in the international market, and local people are already familiar with the product that they are buying. But I guess with China we actually used acquisition strategy because it was quite a challenge for us to find a firm with similar goals and offerings that wanted to coordinate marketing strategy.
Right, okay. So would you be able to use any of these strategies in the future?
Yeah, definitely we will. I mean, it's all about analyzing industry and determining which options we have, and also like what would be the greatest potential for success. Sometimes it may not work as intended, but it's all about learning experience that we can capitalize in the future.
So now we have learned about eBay's entry strategies and the options they have available to it. But in what ways could the company improve their globalization strategy and re-strategize? We're going to go talk to Arushi to find out more.
I'm here with Arushi, eBay's lead strategy specialist. Do you think you could tell me a bit more about why you think the company should rethink their global strategies?
Yes, of course. There is always room for improvement when it comes to globalizing, as there's no one specific strategy we can follow. So it's about always about learning and re-strategizing.
Right.
And as you have learned that there are many factors which are responsible for a business to fail in a certain market. And as Rana mentioned earlier, we failed to enter the Chinese market due to our cultural and administrative distance. And looking back at the strategies we used in the past, there's certain things we could have done differently. A key strategy that we should have carried out was conducting a self-assessment of our capabilities and a thorough country analysis to build a holistic picture of the business environment. And so when entering the Chinese market, we should have been more aware of the differing social norms and values that would impact the motivation to use eBay over our competitors and rivals. So as a result, when we further expand into markets that have significant cultural differences to the US, we need to ensure our awareness of cultural distance and adapt our business model according to the local responsiveness.
How can you rethink your strategy in terms of value creation?
So in terms of value creation, we could rethink our globalization strategy by using Michael Porter's 5 forces model for sources of corporate competitive advantage. We would have to analyze our innovation strategy by being more innovative than our competitors and rivals, and have further access to strategic assets and efficiency in regards to achieving economies of scale. And if in a particular global market we can't create value within the country, we would have to reconsider our strategies all over again. And thus, rather than having an emphasis on mass globalization, we evaluate our options and strategically decide on fewer markets where we will generate the most benefit.
Now we've interviewed company executives, we have a better understanding of eBay's globalization strategies and successes,
as well as their weaknesses and failures. As a result, we have been able to identify how globalization decisions can impact a firm's operations.